was just, oh, I felt like I was on a safari. I was waking up in like a dark forest at night. I don't even, because it's like I'm on a horse on a bumpy gravel road with a bunch of big pebbles, and so every now and then you get that little but then as I'm on the horse, something kicks in and the world around me just starts dissolving into clouds, and instead of being on a horse, I'm on a unicorn flying through the sky on a trail of rainbows. That felt like I was ascending to heaven. That song was like my ear canals were getting a soft, sensual massage from a 3,000 foot tall cosmic entity. And then occasionally it would just stop to work in the muscles. If you took mushrooms and then went into a sensory deprivation chamber, I don't know what you'd see, but this song is what you'd hear. Hey everyone, I'm here with an album in front of me called Tranquilizer by Oneohtrix Point Never. Now, I'm a pretty big fan of Oneohtrix Point Never. I've listened to, I love Echo Jams, obviously. Echo Jams is great. I'm kind of a vaporwave guy, so I'm a big fan of Echo Jams, and a lot of his other stuff like, what's it called, Replica? I think that album is pretty phenomenal. I think he's a great artist. I have the Wikipedia page up here. I know almost nothing about this. I didn't even really know it was coming out. I knew he was releasing something this year. I didn't know it was going to be now. But all the information I have is kind of the first little line on Wikipedia that says, Tranquilizer derives its sound palette from an archive of 1990s sample libraries, which Lopatin found on the... Is it Lopatin? Lopatin? Anyways, found in the Internet Archive, in addition to presets from Romplers. He had initially intended to revolve a musical project around the contents of the archive, but began focusing on it only after the original upload was deleted. Now, that kind of sounds like, that's my deal. Samples from, random old 90s shit and Romplers presets. That's anything that I've ever made on FL Studio is that, so I'm hoping I'll connect with this field a lot. This is the first reaction to anything I'm ever recording. You might be wondering why I'm choosing to react to an instrumental first, or why I'm choosing to react to an instrumental at all. And to that I say, well, why would I react to something with lyrics? If something has lyrics, what am I going to do? Am I going to sit there reading genius.com, reading the annotations, and not to spite anyone that does that. I think that's fun. I think that's entertaining. But I feel like in a way, the message of something with lyrical content to dissect is almost clearer than something where you're really just left to kind of analyze, for lack of a better word, the vibes of, which would be, an instrumental album. You don't have anything to work off, except for, sometimes there's a little bit of background. Maybe I'll read the Apple Music background before we get started here. But, so I think there's kind of a unique opportunity here to really, share a little experience here. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch. That's fine. Share a little experience, listen to this album, see what I think, see what you think, and sorry if my chair squeaks. It sucks. Get used to it, I guess. Let's read what it says here. Daniel Lopatin. I need to figure out how that's pronounced.
Daniel Lopatin.
Daniel Lopatin. Lopatin?
Pronouncenames.com.
Lopatin.
What the hell? Okay, I'm just going to say Lopatin. Daniel Lopatin once described his vaporous synth and sample collages as trying to capture the feeling of lying in a dentist chair before a procedure and hearing soft rock in the background. a banal experience that nevertheless evokes an almost cosmic unpleasantness, your daily dose of dystopia, writ small. Following a series of fruitful collaborations with The Weeknd, including writing and production on After Hours, Dawn FM, and Hurry Up Tomorrow, 2025's Tranquilizer further fixes his Eno-like ability to create music that feels both abstract but surprisingly easy to listen to, touching on jazz ballads, reggae, and Windows 95 era versions of world beat that find grandeur in the kitschiest corners of our cultural memory. I always... Writing these little descriptions for Apple Music has to be like the best job ever, because you could kind of just say whatever. No one's checking this. Well, I've been saying that 90s revival has really been the big new trend. 80s revival was going on a lot. I feel like we're almost past that. So, doesn't surprise me. It said it was 90 samples, so let's just, it's enough talking. I'll have a lot more to say between the songs, I'm sure. Let's see what this is all about. Track 1 is called For Residue.
Residue.
Oh, that was beautiful. I like that. Yeah. This is beautiful, honestly. Nice. This transition. Okay. Wow. I really liked that beginning. That was like, it was really luscious. It was such a soundscape. And that's really, that's kind of what OPN is, that's what he's known for. That's what Vaporwave is. That's what, all the stuff he does really just evokes something within you. It's very trippy. It's very psychedelic, I guess I would say. But that, that was just, I felt like I was on a safari. I was waking up in like a dark forest at night. I don't even know if I want to get into like analogies yet, because there's going to be a lot of those, I think. Yeah, wow, that was a strong start. I think he really uses your expectations against you. Like that moment at the end where, the sound had kind of been slowly getting louder and louder and crescendoing, and then he just stops it. And that kind of leaves you breathless. That was beautiful. Okay, so next up, this is a longer song. We've got Bumpy. So much depth, so much texture. Ooh. That's what I'm talking about. That right there, that's what I'm talking about. Switch up. like I love that that's called Bumpy, because it's like I'm on a horse on a bumpy gravel road with a bunch of big pebbles, and so every now and then you get that little but then as I'm on the horse, something kicks in and the world around me just starts dissolving into clouds, and instead of being on a horse, I'm on a unicorn flying through the sky on a trail of rainbows, and everything is just airy and magical and soft. And every now and then we get back to that little bumpy gravel road. But man, I loved the progression of that. The way that it sort of, again, this is another thing that I think OPN's just really, really good at doing. And that is keeping you engaged, essentially. And I don't want to say that in a way of like, oh, I need something to be happening constantly or I'm going to get bored. Because, there's lots of Vaporwave even that I like that is kind of just a loop for, 7 minutes or whatever. But he has a way of really slowly drawing you in and then bringing you up and 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 then letting you down smoothly at the end. It's like a roller coaster, but instead of being like fast and thrilling, it's soothing. It's like the euthanasia coaster. You die at the end, but it's like really peaceful and fun while you do. Great song. Next up is Lifeworld. Very, very trippy. That's a good loop. Keep that going, please. See what I mean? I was gonna say he lets you down so smooth, then he just slingshots you back. Smacked in the face in a good way. I'm not done yet. Whoa. I love this. This part is beautiful. Ooh. That central loop of like the strings, like the dum dum dum, that like little rhythm loop, when that starts to kick in and you realize that like this is gonna keep going, this is an ongoing pattern, that is beautiful. That is so like, it's so satisfying. Well, okay, first off, this song I feel like was a lot less sparse than the previous two. There was more going on constantly. It was a little less atmospheric and more, here's like a melody, here's a thing going on. But when from out of kind of this chaos, I don't want to use the word cacophony, but like just this chaos of sound, out comes like a melody that just emerges from the background. It's not like in the forefront. You just start to notice it. It's beautiful. It's like he's like showing, not telling. He's not putting the melody in your face. He's letting you discover it on your own. And that is just like the most satisfying experience you could possibly have listening to this kind of music. So I really dug that. Liked it a lot. Yeah, that might be my favorite so far, actually. I've liked all of these. I was expecting to like this album, but yeah, that was really good. So next up we've got Measuring Ruins. That sounds like a Rompler sound for sure. That like stringy synth. That's something I would have heard in Omnisphere for sure. Bring in that low end, please. Bring it up. Oh, that one. Wow. That gave me chills, honestly. That felt like I was ascending to heaven. That was, oh my god, I don't even have much to add, really. That was just a beautiful little collage of some amazing synths and just these heavenly noises, and he brings them all in so smoothly. Everything always sounds so deliberate. There's not a single position of a single note or sample of any sound that isn't exactly in its right place. It's like divinely created. It's really... That was phenomenal. That was phenomenal. That was wonderful. Okay, next up we've got Modern Lust, which is the longest song so far. Not the longest on the album, but one of the longer ones, so let's listen. Pretty immediate. Oh, this is exactly what I was talking about those melodies that you just like discover. That was crazy. It's like I woke up. Oh, those are beautiful strings. Oh my god. So sick. I love this one. Bring in some of that low end. Bring in some of them drums. Dude, I love that noise. Oh no, quiet down. That was sick. This is completely different. Oh wow. It's kind of surprising. That sounds so nice. It's like heartwarming. It's heartwarming. I feel like if I have one takeaway from this album so far, it would be that which I said earlier, that he is so good. Opian is so good at sneaking the melody in from under you. You're just kind of in this atmospheric, barrage of cool noises, and you're so sucked in, and before you even know it, your head's bobbing along to a melody you didn't even realize was there. Like, it's not even that it emerges. You're hearing it before you were even listening to it, if that makes any sense. And it's so, like, it really adds to that atmosphere, you know? It's really great. And one other thing I noticed, not on this song specifically, but kind of through the album, it's funny that I say this, because, you know, I think a lot of this sort of, you know, darker ambient sounding stuff has these sort of noises. But the beginning of a lot of these songs kind of reminds me of the soundtrack to myhouse.wad, which is like a Doom 2 mod. And it's great. It's based on House of Leaves, if you ever read that book. I'm sure there's like 5-hour-long YouTube video essays about it that you can go watch. Maybe I'll put one in the description. But that mod is great. The soundtrack is really great. And some of like the instruments and the ambient techniques really remind me that he's using here remind me of that. And it's going for that same sort of chopped up, glitchy 90s sound, which again is sort of common, but that's just what stuck out in my mind. And I really like that. I think it's really cool. So, yeah, that was a great one. Next up is Fear of Symmetry. Jazzier piano in the back. Please give me more of that. Okay, the synths come in. He loves to crescendo it. The panning on that synth was so phenomenal. This is so gorgeous, man. This is so good. Oh, it's a little scary. Oh, no, it's beautiful. Oh. Yes. Sick! Really nice ending. Oh? Vocals? Okay. Wow. That might have been my favorite so far, actually. Gosh. What can I even say about that? You know those, like, sensory deprivation chambers where like you're floating in a tank of water and you can't see anything, you can't hear anything, you don't feel anything because you're just floating, all your senses are gone and you're just left to think. I feel like if you took psychedelics, if you took mushrooms and then went into a sensory deprivation chamber, I don't know what you'd see, but this song is what you'd hear. I feel like this is what how your brain would make sense of nothingness. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's how I feel about it. It feels so, like, I said sparse earlier, but yet it's not really sparse. It's just everything is kind of distinct from itself. And it's all just happens to be perfectly in sync in such a way that it comes together in this just beautiful little arrangement. I have no clue I don't know what the titles of any of these have meant. I kind of just assumed that it's whatever vibe he was feeling when he made the music. You know, I mean, that's how I name shit, so. Next up is Vestigel, does that... Does Vestigel mean something? I don't believe so. So, who knows? But I guess we'll find out. Vestigel. I'm sorry that I'm closing my eyes so much, by the way, but I just feel like meditating when I listen to this. Ooh. Really low end. Oh my god. Ooh. Oh, that was sick. There's so much. There's so much. Go back. This is definitely one of the more atmospheric ones, but I'm really liking it. Oh. 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 Ooh. Jesus Christ. Even on the fade out, you gotta keep you on your toes. You have to keep it on your toes. Oh my gosh. You ever had, like a massage and, it's very calming and very soothing, but then eventually they get to like a muscle and they really start working it in and it hurts like hell, but it like transitions into feeling good at the same time? That's like, that song was like my ear canals were getting a soft, sensual massage from a 3,000-foot tall cosmic entity, and then occasionally it would just stop to work in the muscles. And I was scared at first. I was a little frightened. I was a little hurt. But then it just became the most soothing thing ever. Wow. That was, I think that was the first moment on this album that really, like, shocked me, surprised me. And this is another thing that Opian is good at, that he does a lot, is kind of, I don't want to call it a trick, but he sucks you in, and then he surprises you. That's what, like I said earlier, it keeps it interesting. This is just a much more direct way of doing that, and it can be easy to kind of throw off the soothing nature, but I think he managed to keep it together pretty well there. It was interesting. It sounded like a woman crying or something. I don't know. I'd like to know what that sample was. But next song is called Cherry Blue, which is, it's a great song title. That's awesome. I love that. Let's listen to it. Simple. Wistful. Oh, please give me a saxophone. I think I just heard a saxophone. Please. Let there be a song on here with a saxophone. Oh. Oh? That was such a seamless little switch in tempo. that was great. First off, everything's been great. Expect me to say that was great about every single song on this album, because it is, and probably will continue to be. I think, I mentioned earlier psychedelics, and obviously, any of this sort of ambient, or even just like down tempo, obviously vaporwave adjacent, any of this sort of music is always associated with, you take acid or something, and this would be insane, which it would. This would be absolutely amazing on psychedelics. But I don't know if people always realize why that is. And I think the deal with this album, and, with a lot of OPN's other work, is I saw on Wikipedia they used the word kaleidoscopic, sort of in the sense that, when you look through a kaleidoscope, it's this amazing magical pattern, and there's so much to notice about it. And you move just a little bit, and it's not like the pattern has necessarily changed, but there's something new in it that you never saw before, that having that context makes the rest of it all the more beautiful. And that's what I feel like is being created in these songs. You just start to notice, or he'll bring them out, all these different little ideas or sounds. And when you do it, I've been getting a lot of chills. And it's because, they say that chills when you listen to music are caused by the expected being combined with the unexpected. So you've come to expect whatever you're hearing, looped over and over again. And then something happens that was there the whole time that you just now come to realize, and it's like shocking. It really is. In the most beautiful way imaginable. I mean, it's really beautiful. So far, I don't think I've listened to everything OPN's put out, but this is probably my favorite project of his since Replica so far. Who knows if the rest of it will be the same level of quality. But for me, it reminds me of Replica. Well, okay, it doesn't necessarily remind me of Replica, but like quality-wise, and in terms of like how coherent of a project it feels, this feels the most like, on first listen, just hitting me right in the heart since Replica. Okay, the next song is, I believe, the shortest on the album, and that is Bell Scanner. Not sure if it's a transition or just a short little idea. Let's listen. Very grandiose. Those notes are like ascending up to heaven. That was good. I'm not gonna really bother to pause and talk about that. It was very good. Kind of transitioned. It was smooth to an extent. D.I.S. Ooh. That's a change. Oh! This is sick! This is awesome. This is really cool. Bring it back. Oh. Not done. Not done. Weird key change there. Ooh. I think that was definitely one of the most all over the place songs on here. Definitely not in a bad way at all. I like that quite a bit. It was just kind of like, I felt like there were so many different sections to it, and the fact that he manages to make all these completely different samples from different contexts and presumably different origins fit together in such a smooth way, especially when they don't even sound alike. Like, you know, that's what I was saying, it was so all over the place. But it still feels like one coherent song. And that, to me, is, you know, as someone who's tried to make not exactly this kind of music, but stuff in a sort of similar vein, you know, a lot of sample-heavy stuff, that is what is so impressive, because a lot of the time a sample feels like a sample when you want it to feel like just an element of the song and not something that was tacked on at the end. And I don't think there's been a single moment on this album especially where I felt like something was just tacked on. Something was just, oh, he threw that little sample in because it sounded cool. It all feels so like as if he had made it himself, because of how coherent it is, I suppose is the word. It's very, very coherent. I like that song quite a bit. Okay, next up we have Tranquilizer, the title track. A little bit of a short one. These sounds keep just like coming out of nowhere and really impressing me. That was Tranquilizer. Not one of my favorites on this. Again, I still enjoyed it a lot. I think, you know, nothing just... this could be also because it is one of the shorter ones on here, that nothing really, like, struck out to me as, like, this is kind of a defining feature of the song. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, part of the idea of this album and albums like it is you're really getting put in a soundscape, in an atmosphere, and it's just supposed to slowly drift you through, and sometimes you want people to kind of get comfortable with what you're doing, so that on a more macro scale then you can, you know, do something unexpected. And, you know, maybe that's why this is a title track, you know, it's kind of very representative of the sound of everything else, in a way. But yeah, I still enjoyed it quite a bit. Let's go, next one's Storm Show. Yeah, Storm Show. I love water ambience. Sounds of water is the best ambience in the world, in nature or artificial. I don't care if it's rain, if it's splashing, if it's a waterfall. It's the best. It's so lush. Ooh, this is really melodic. If this keeps going how it's going. Dude, this is so melodic that I want there to be like a bass drop. Like, I want this to just be a completely different... Come on. What a chord. Oh my god. They're like screeching, but in a good way. Oh, that is trippy. That is trippy. The fact that this is the same song. Oh! You can't just come back in like that. Wow. I think that's my favorite one so far. I mean, maybe one of the last 2 tracks, but that moment in the middle where it completely cuts out and then comes back full force with like probably the most melodic moment on this album, I want to say. That was wonderful. That was beautiful. That was the best moment of this so far. I was shocked. I was surprised. I really don't have much more to say than that. I just was kind of left speechless. Ironically, I don't have much to say. Yeah, well, I guess we'll just roll on into Petro or or something. Again, this is such a rompler sound. It'll be funny if these times I'm saying it sounds like a rompler is like just a sample and vice versa, but it's not like he's ever going to see this, so we'll never know. Interesting sounds here. There's this little like chord progression going on in the back. Sorry if I am like yawning or whatever, by the way. I swear this is not boring me. I love Oneohtrix Point Never. I'm loving this album so far. I actually really like it. I think I'm going to listen to this a lot. It's just, I woke up like super early. So I'm a little bit tired, but it's not because of this album, and it's not hindering my enjoyment at all. This is great. This song in particular, again, I think with some of these shorter ones, you don't really get the chance to build up to the full crescendo and kind of really subvert your expectations, but they do provide these very nice, very fun little listening experiences. So I'm excited to get into these last 2 tracks here, because they're both, I think they're the 2 longest on the album. And first up is Rodl Glide. Rodl Glide. It's the longest one. Okay. Getting some drums. One more drums than usual. You know, the consistent kind of bass, almost kick drum hit. This is almost like lo-fi hip-hop, kinda. Bring those synths in. Ooh. Funky. Okay. Oh my god, this song just switched so much. Oh! Please, one more time. That is so good. Inject that into my veins. Wow. Okay, I know I just said Storm Show was my favorite. That might be my favorite right there. I've been talking about this whole reaction. I've been saying that the surprise factor is really what does it for me with this genre, with this style of music, right? That really, it was almost like 3 minutes, maybe longer, of that sort of like lo-fi hip-hop feel. One of the most chill, one of the most cohesive, one of the most straightforward instrumentals up until that point. And then it just completely discombobulates you, takes you all over the place, and all of a sudden it's the most gorgeous, beautiful thing you've ever heard, and you're in space, and you're flying through 1,000 comets, and then by the end it's back to just nice, chill little beat. Wow. That was great. That was wonderful. There's only one song left to maybe be better than that. Otherwise, that is my favorite song on this thing, on first listen. Speaking of, let's go ahead and listen to the final song, which is Waterfalls. I wonder if there's going to be more water ambience. Let's see. Yes, there is. Ooh, I liked that. Do more of that, please. Thank you. Might be the most gorgeous one yet, just in terms of everything combining into one beautiful package. This song is really wonderful. Oh! Let's get a little techie with it. With the sort of royal harpsichord strings behind that. Oh! just like that. I love this part, the synth, and I think it's a harpsichord, but it's a new instrument, and it's really, it fits just perfectly. It's a very final note to resolve it on. Wow. Okay, that was probably, in my opinion, the most, like, grandiose song on here, I think. That felt like I was going on an adventure across the universe. I was exploring all sorts of different planets and galaxies and stars that I couldn't even comprehend or visualize, but I was just seeing them and being in them and being them, and it was wonderful. That was another one of my favorites. I still think Rodl Glide is probably my number one, but this is up there for sure. Waterfalls probably top 5, maybe top 3. Very good. Wow. 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 Tranquilizer. Okay. I want to look at the name and the title now that we kind of have the... Obviously, there can always be other context for the cover art or for the name that I can't be privy to, but just based on what I've heard in the music and what little other information I know, what can I say about the name and the cover art? So the name is Tranquilizer. What does a tranquilizer do? Puts you to sleep, right? And this album, in the best way possible, it makes me want to sleep. I guess that's not a good way of putting it. It feels like a dream in a way that not many other things can be, because when you're in a dream, at least for me, everything that happens, you never predict it, but yet it feels natural at the same time. Like, I guess because your brain was already queuing it up, right? It feels like that was, whatever happens in the dream was destined to happen, even if you didn't expect it at the time. And that is sort of the elements of this that I get that makes it feel so dreamy, so dreamlike. Is that every single piece of it feels like it was meant to be there, even if I wasn't expecting it to be there. It makes perfect sense once I see it. It's like, oh, of course that would be there. And I don't know if Tranquilizer has a meaning beyond just drugs and sleep. Maybe it does, I'm not sure. But that really, that's kind of what I get out of that. It feels like a very vibes-based sort of name scheme there. And then the art, I actually saw this again on the Wikipedia. They said this is a piece called Blue Interval by Abner Hirschberger. I know someone with the last name Hirschberger. Well, new. And what does there to say about it? I don't know what you call this style of art, I guess. Make a look up Abner Hirschberger style of art. What the movement is. Because art, I love art, but they always have to have like a name for everything. Like, oh, this is realist, this is this is that, etc., etc., etc. Sometimes I just want to look at something and be able to say, that's pretty, and this is what it makes me feel. And that's what I'm going to do. This, I think... So you've got kind of like the leaf pattern down there. It's like grass, almost. But obviously, the green is the veins of the leaves, and the black is what would be the meat of the leaf, I guess. So it's inverted, and it's between these two rows, kind of shaped like one of those escalator walkways in an airport. Conveyor belt, not escalator. I don't know. It's kind of, in a weird way, it's like, it's not symmetrical, but it is, you know? It's symmetrical in kind of an off-kilter way. Like, if you just look at it from a different perspective, the way it's presented to you might not seem symmetrical, but when you look at it closer, it really is. And that feels, to me, pretty evocative of what this album is, you know? It's not... You're not going to go in and be presented with something that makes perfect sense immediately. But when you hear it a bunch of times and when you kind of shift the way you think about it, it begins to unfold and it begins to make sense. And it begins to really feel natural, feel symmetrical, you know? So that's kind of how I see the cover art, I suppose. That's my little amateur analysis. How do I feel about this overall? It was great. It was really wonderful. I said earlier that this is probably my favorite project of his since Replica. I would probably still say that. I don't think it's better than Replica. I would need to listen to this like as many times as I've listened to Replica, which would be 100 more times to come to that conclusion. But I think it's really good. It does remind me of Replica in a lot of ways. It's not necessarily, you know, treading new ground for OPN, but what it is doing, it's doing pretty phenomenally. I don't think you could do this sort of thing much better. It's because of that, yeah, I love it, you know? It's like I don't like to rate things out of 10, but it would rate very highly on pretty much any system you could give me. You know, it'd probably be like a 9 out of 10 or something. I think it's pretty phenomenal. Great listen. I'm happy I listened to it. And I'm happy I listened to it with you. And I hope you got something out of this. I hope you got something out of the album. I hope you got something out of what I was saying, if it wasn't just gibberish. I don't know. And if you're watching this video, I'm not going to ask you to like and subscribe like everyone does. But what I am going to ask you to do is comment down below. You watched this long, so you must enjoy something of what I'm offering. I want to listen to whatever you want to offer. So comment something below and name an album, just say, you should listen to this. I'll watch it. I will 100%, if you comment something down there, I will react to it. I will give it this same level of analysis, if not more, and I will upload to this channel. All I ask in exchange is your view, the little bit of your time, so we can kind of have, you know, a conversation. And yeah, I don't care what it is. You know, I want to listen to literally anything. If it's 2 hours of harsh noise wall, okay, 2 hours of harsh noise might be a lot, but like 45 minutes of harsh noise I could probably deal with. And really, any sort of project, maybe, you know, again, something that's like 8 hours long, crazy time investment, or requires a ton of lore, I might be a little more hesitant on, but still recommend it. And unless there's something majorly wrong with it, I will listen to it. You can hold me to my word on that. This video is probably gonna get like 2 comments anyways, so it's not a big commitment, honestly, but I will do it. So please leave a comment below. Tell me what you think I should listen to next. Tell me if you have any suggestions how to switch up the format here a little bit. Tell me if that little blurred image above me looks stupid or not. I was gonna make it animated and then I kind of messed it up, so I just left it how it was because I really wanted to listen to this. I've been putting it off so I could record it. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye-bye.